What's
Leah,
up? What's up?
what's
Welcome to
up?
Questionable with D and
Leah, where we're talking about stuff that is questionable.
all right.
Obviously.
Right. Okay. So the first clip I have for you today is about abortion. I know we talked about other stuff, right? But the way this guy summed up the abortion debate was kind of trippy to me, and I thought that you should check this out. Okay, so hang on one second. Yeah, you with
Yes.
me?
Okay.
This is a message for liberal white women. Look, nobody's coming for your abortions, okay? What we really want is common sense abortion control. That means mandatory background checks with mental health assessments, along with entering a national registry for abortions and paying a $200 tax stamp that could take up to 1 year on a wait list to receive. We would seek to outlaw assault abortions occurring after the first trimester, along with high capacity abortions, including twins and triplets. And ultimately, we would like to limit the number of abortions any person can have because nobody needs more than one abortion.
All right. I should have seen that coming. I should have seen it coming the way he looked. But
Wow, right? Did he break that down in a way
well,
uh he broke that down in a way that I hadn't quite heard before.
right.
Off the
Likewise.
top, off the top, I'm gonna just say that I'm pro gun and I'm pro choice off the top, right? However, I'm pro choice with a caveat, okay? See, abortions used to be safe, legal, and rare. That was how we looked at how it was supposed to be, right? We didn't want to outlaw it because we didn't want women killing themselves over horrifying situations and things of this nature, right? But what it's turned into is more of a convenience. What it's turned into is more of a rite of passage in some ways. What it's turned into is something else. And some people would argue that this is a modern day version of child sacrifice, that they're still sacrificing to the Moloch, to the gods or whatever. And this is just a modern day form of it. Uh, I don't know. I don't know about all that, but I do know that the way that he compared abortion with gun rights was very like the part that got me really was the what do you say, the serial abortion or the multiple abortions or something like that, or nobody
Yeah,
needs to have more than
exactly.
one or something like oh, like he's saying, he's making some good points, right? Mm. Like, what do you think about that? How do you feel about him saying that?
It's
How
funny
do you
because we've
feel
never
about
talked about it, but we agree. I mean, I agree with you on almost every level. My computer's about to die.
it?
Anyway, I agree with you in that it used to be something of necessity. It used to be something that was, it was way more sacred. It was something that it wasn't just like there's the way it's treated now, in my opinion, is it's treated as birth control, almost to the point, almost more than birth control, and I've actually had conversations with people where they you know have started with somebody saying like, I just got back from vacation and find out abortion's illegal. Oh, I should have wore condoms, something like that. Like, why is that? That should never be, because the value of life is so diminished now these days. So I strongly disagree with that, but I also feel like banning all abortions is way too lazy to be an actual solution. Obviously there's reasons why people can't have kids, and a lot of it is financial and circumstantial. And so if we want to ban all abortions, we're also going to have to um, have some rent control, mandates in place where you can't charge more than the living wage, etc. Because it's just too lazy to be a solution, because some people are going to
I,
get.
I think that I hear you, but I think that we're talking about two different things. And I understand how they are entwined, but
Mhm.
I want to stay on the abortion because the fact that we aren't making a decent wage is another show
Right.
entirely,
I'm
right?
just saying, okay, well, let my
Right? Did you
main
see the
point
intro on
not
the
go
news
away
this
though,
week?
because my main
Did you
point.
see the intro on the news this
Huh?
week? Did you see the intro on the news this week?
I'm sure I did, but
She was
remind me.
breaking down how feminism,
Oh,
how
feminism is, yeah,
right.
exactly. It's not at all what they sell it as and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I should
I
play
agree
that.
with all of it.
I should play that. Is your computer gonna die or no?
I feel like it's going to. It says it's going to, and I just keep wishing and praying, which isn't seeming to
All
work.
right, well, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna rock it till the wheels fall off. All right.
Until it goes, yeah, and then I'll just move inside. So
All
that's
right.
the thing.
So I'm not gonna try to. I'm gonna find the intro.
Years ago, I was an angry, blue-haired feminist. I once believed that male privilege was real and that I was a victim of the wage gap. Now that I understand the true motives of feminism, I know that this could not be further from the truth, and that modern-day feminism is a war on true masculinity. Before women had the right to vote, most were stay-at-home wives, which meant they weren't working jobs and couldn't be taxed. Our overlords didn't like that. Rockefeller started funding feminist campaigns in media, and as a consequence of the movement, women started entering the workforce and leaving the home. Children would then be separated from their parents and sent to Rockefeller-funded schools to be indoctrinated by the state. All of this ultimately disrupting the family unit at its core. Feminism is defined as the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes. But in the West, I must ask, what rights do men have that women don't? Modern feminists are convincing women that hookup culture, using hormonal birth control, and not shaving is liberation. That toxic masculinity is prevalent and the patriarchy must be dismantled. Through movies and media, we're taught that working for the man, climbing the corporate ladder, and paying tax is more empowering and valuable than raising the next generation. Women have lost touch with our natural loving instincts, and birth rates are plummeting. Men and women are not the same. And by protesting for equality of outcome rather than opportunity, feminists are demonizing and emasculating men.
Yeah, so there's that.
Right. No, I agree with a lot of that. Actually, I agree with all of it. I think I don't think that a lot of things, a lot of times when people hear stuff like that, they immediately think that, oh, there's no way that all these people could organize and come together and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to weaponize feminism and we're going to make it this concise effort that, where everybody's on board and we're going to get everybody in. Like, that's not how it works. It's not. They have studied our minds so much that they know exactly what triggers and what traumas they can weaponize, so to speak, to create a movement that, snowballs itself and just feeds itself. So I
Speaking of
agree with you.
triggers, no, speaking of trigger, one of the reasons why I wanted to show you that clip is because I could imagine someone on the left or someone who's really pro-abortion being triggered by the way he was breaking that down.
Oh,
And
hell
I'm
yeah.
wondering if it's a fair comparison, because do gun owners feel that way when people are trying to infringe on what they believe are their rights?
From a
I mean,
political standpoint, yes. From a
right? Do
political
they
standpoint,
feel,
yes.
are they triggered the same way that a woman would be triggered if you wanted to limit her
Yes.
right? Is it the
That's a
same?
good point. It's a good point. Yes, it is. I don't think neither is healthy.
Right.
Neither is based in reality. But yeah, I think it is. I think that guns are their babies. It's a constitutional right, second blah blah blah, and they go in on it. And that's not. It's not. It's too much. Like, why? The thing that the biggest example of this mass psychosis extravaganza that everybody is either understanding or vehemently opposed to even thinking is a thing. The biggest example I would say is women marching to kill their child. Like, that is
crazy. That
it's
is yeah, that is insane to me. Insane. I wish I was aborted and things like this, and not a person yet, drawn on their stomach, right, and things like
that's
this.
like,
Yeah, it's a lot for me to take.
Yeah.
I just think that's, and I mean, full disclosure, I don't want to be hypocritical. I full disclosure, I've done, not that I've done that, but I've had experience firsthand with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not where I was then. Where I used to drink the Kool-Aid is what it was.
Exactly.
I used to drink the Kool-Aid. Exactly. And now, you can't tell me, it's not a kid. Like, you know what I mean? It's not I used to believe, well, it's just a cell or a clump of this and this and that. But now I'm just, I'm like Bill Burr. You saw the Bill Burr
I
skit?
did see it. Yeah, that he was when he was talking about the 10-year-old girl outside. You
No, the
remember that part?
cake.
Oh, you're talking about the clip. Did you see his stand up, his full stand up? Because he does a whole thing about it. I feel like my shit.
No. Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. I
Oh,
don't
you're
know.
talking about the cake. Yeah, the cake. That was funny. Oh, that was in his. Okay, so you might have seen it. What it
Okay.
basically, just to remind you, is that he saw a protest happening. It was a 10-year-old little girl outside with her dad. They were protesting, and he was like, the dad was saying, "Well, I'm teaching her early that a woman has the right to choose." And did it? Uh-oh. Oh, okay. The woman has the right to choose, and he said, okay. He said, well, your daughter's hot. And he was like, what? Because he had just, I'm sorry, just to back it up a bit, he had just said, it's not a child yet, it's not a baby yet or whatever. But Bill Burr was like, well, it's gonna be, and then he was like, your daughter's hot. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's my daughter. She's not a woman. And he's like, yeah, but she's gonna be.
Oh my God, I got it. I didn't hear that. When I heard this one, check this one
And
out.
I was just like, it's your body. Who the fuck am I to tell you what to do with your body? So that always made sense. All right? However, I still think you're killing a baby. See? That's where it gets weird. Like, I sit on the fence and the whole thing makes sense to me. Whatever anybody's saying, like, don't tell you what to do. It's my body, my choice. That's right, man. She's right. Leave me the hell alone. Oh, you're killing a baby. Well, I mean, there is that. I mean, if we're going to be honest, that is the whole purpose of the procedure. You're not going in there because you got an earache.
Right.
You're going in there because you're like, I got a baby in me, get the fuck out of here. Right? You walk in with a baby, you come out without one. What happened to the baby? Right? Something fucking happened. So, pro-choice people are like, well, it's not a life yet. It's not a baby yet. If you do, I don't know what they say. Before you do the first Thursday or the last Tuesday, you spin around one time. They dance between the raindrops. It's not a baby yet. That's what they say, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you, my gut tells me that doesn't make sense. It's not a baby yet. That would be like if I was making a cake and I poured some batter in a pan and I put it in the oven, and then 5 minutes later you came by and you grabbed the pan, you threw it across the floor. And I went, what the fuck? You just ruined my birthday cake. And then you were like, well, that wasn't a cake yet. It's like, well, it would have been. If you didn't do what you just did, there would have been a cake in 50 minutes. Something happened to that cake, you cake murdering son of a bitch.
You know what? I just remembered it was Andrew Schiff who did the little girl one. But yeah, I mean, same point. Like every single last one of those abortions were people that could have been. When you get an abortion, 100% abortion ends in death. Like 100%. There's no could have been anything. Yeah. And what do you do with that? So, but yeah, as far as the gun.
Now, it's funny to equate it with gun rights because guns are designed to take life.
Yeah.
That's what they're that's their
so
that's,
that's
the job. That's
our abortion.
They don't right. If they don't take life, it's not a very good gun unless you're talking about water pistols or something like that. Right. So it's interesting for me just the juxtaposition of these two ideas and how Americans of all kinds hold them both dear and are triggered when you encroach on the rights.
I think that's the easiest way to surmise that it's on purpose, because those are besides race, I would say guns and abortions are the biggest tools of the political landscape, really, because they're so easy to control. I mean, people will change their entire, trajectory in the day and life and in policy and politics if one of those things goes away. That's literally what makes people, like some people who were not going to vote for Joe Biden at all, he takes a pro-abortion stance and that changes. Not saying that they were all the way Republican, but just were taking a Green Party ticket or whatever,
right.
But
now, is that because of the abortion itself, that topic itself, or is it because they appeal so heavily to emotion? I mean, all these things that you're talking about, and you could throw climate change in there too, as far as a political, football, so to speak, right? But what they all have in common is they're rooted in emotion. They're not necessarily rooted in facts or science or anything like that. So when you talk about when does life begin,
Right. There's no.
I think most science would say that life begins at conception.
Right.
I don't know most scientists, so I can't say that definitively, but my gut tells me that most scientists would say that life begins at conception because
And yeah, and
that's
if it
what
didn't,
happens.
they wouldn't use, these cells for medical and science and stuff like that if there
Oh,
wasn't
don't
some.
get me started. Every time you see natural flavors,
No, not natural flavors, not natural flavors. We were
every
just
time you
talking about this.
see natural flavors, they're
That's what it
talking
was.
about aborted fetal cells.
Every time, everything has natural flavors.
No, everything processed has natural flavors.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, everything that has an ingredient list, I would say. Let me see.
Well, no, not an ingredient list, but processed foods.
Well, no, because it's in other stuff too. It's in drinks and stuff. Okay, what does it mean when it says naturally flavored?
I think that's different than I don't know. And before we start saying that, like definitively, we
Right.
should look that up and like
We should
make
look
sure
it
that
up
we have
because
that straight. But yeah, pretty much from my understanding is that, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that when it says natural flavoring or natural flavors, those are aborted fetal cells.
we've been talking about that for a good 2 weeks at my house, and we've been saying, because one time I got a drink and it said, and it had a TM or a trademark. It had a trademark it was a trademark, and it said organic flavors was one of the ingredients, and I was like, the hell is an organic flavor?
Right.
What
What
are
is an
you what are you
organic?
even talking about?
What
What
does
does
that
it taste
mean?
like? What the hell is that? And
Right.
and yeah, I never really did find that out. But natural flavors is in like everything, and I knew about that they were using the aborted fetus cells to enhance flavor or create something that was. Wait, do you know more about it? I don't know, like how to
No, I'm
articulate.
nodding because I'm with you, but for me, I'm just like, okay, whose idea was this?
Where
And
did they
how did
even
it
get that
become
for a thing?
prevalent? You know what I'm saying? And what does that make? Does that mean that we're cannibalistic if we're eating that stuff?
I mean, is that the implication? Perhaps.
Right. Why does that work for natural flavor? Like what does it lend to any sort of flavoring that
It's
helps?
it's what they've done. The same thing that they do with the study of the mind. They have studied the biological response to certain flavors and things of that nature. So my understanding is that it's something to do with the taste buds and triggering um, delight through the taste buds. The same way like the packaging crinkle will make cats run to a snack or whatever. It's something like that, but it's on a deeper level, obviously. And
Hey, how does your camera in motion like that? Your camera just did a motion. It does
oh,
it
did it? It's
automatically?
probably it's my iPad Pro. It does or the newest operating system. I can't see what it's doing, but my daughter says it does the same thing. Like it follows me, right? Or it
Yeah.
tracks. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
that
just
was dope.
tracking. I gotta play with it and see what else I can do over here.
Okay. I
But I
was
should
like, wait a
probably turn it
minute.
to the side though, huh?
I don't
Because
know.
this
No, you look
is
fine. I was
worse.
just like, who's holding her cameras? I was like, wait a minute. You got
Yes,
a
my
director, no
cameraman, he's
fair.
over there. He's, he just didn't want to be in front of the camera. No. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so I just felt like it was like a really sort of triggering sort of subject, but I felt like that would be an opportunity for either of those people to understand the other side when it comes to look. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong, but
right.
understanding the trigger mechanism, right?
But that's
And
that you're right. That's the
that's what I'm
point. I
talking
just wanted
about.
to, because I didn't want to, like, I agreed into, and when I was shaking my head was that they don't even understand to some extent why they're so triggered by these things. So speaking to one another, listening, and doing that thing that we're all taught as children, like, oh, let me put myself in your position. I believe it's called empathy,
Yes,
and
yes.
just being, so then you can like talk it through and
Right.
figure out like, why is this happening to us? Because there's no way, when you think of a common sense situation, that you would fight to abort, to kill your child. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way
no
that
way.
you would do that. And to the gentleman right there, there's no
And
way.
there's
Also, your guns are how serious to you? Like, what do you, what,
right. There's
like,
no way that
there's
you're gonna voluntarily restrict your right to protect yourself, your family, your belongings. There's no way you're gonna voluntarily restrict that. There's not
right.
a
No,
chance.
there's no way. Not when we know, like, because what if, just hypothetically speaking, what if the government is the enemy? Like, what if you're gonna hand your guns to them? Like, that's crazy. Like, it makes no sense at all.
But historically, when the government wants your guns, that's not good news.
Exactly.
So we're not
Exactly.
even gonna get we that's a whole other episode
A
too.
whole nother thing.
Historically, when the government starts saying they want your gun, just let anybody watching just look, just check out through history. When the government says they want your guns, it's a wrap for the people in that country. That's what
Well,
it is.
real quick, the argument will be like, well, they shouldn't be killing kids and da 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 da. And that's the way to stop it. And it's nonsensical argument. This is my analogy. I'm gonna cut off my wife's feet because she wants to leave me. Okay, but the next time somebody comes along with a car, she's probably just gonna get in it and leave you anyway. Like, it's just way, way, way too stupid to be a solution. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of crime guns on the street, criminal guns on the street. Nobody out here doing the shooting has legal guns, except for
Right. Except for the cops.
conveniently enough, the people that do the school shootings, apparently they bought them all somehow legally, but that's another.
Right. That's all right. We gonna be here all day.
Right.
Because we got to talk about those school shootings and the connection with prescription medications and that thing,
Well, every school shooting, I mean, I have like screenshots for days where every single shooter is like, I forgot, I don't know, I didn't remember, I heard voices in my head.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but yeah, just to wrap up that though, I think you're right, it is a triggering mechanism. I mean, obviously a triggering mechanism, but both are equally.
One thing that I don't think I finished the thought on was how all of these things are appeals to emotions. When they talk about the guns, they talk about school shootings. They don't talk about how people with guns save lives, right? How many lives are saved with guns. When they talk about abortion, they talk about the 10-year-old girl who was raped and who has no hope, right? They don't talk about the one that's getting her fifth one for convenience, right? When they talk about all of these things, I think basically what I'm trying to say is when they appeal to your emotion, watch out, because these aren't emotional issues. I think maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, okay,
his trigger, the way that he phrased that could trigger either side because of how they feel about these things. But it's not about emotion. It should be about logic. It should be about facts. It should be about truth. It shouldn't be about
right. And there shouldn't be if it were the way they presented it and not the way that you're saying, then there wouldn't be any apprehension when there's counseling suggested to the woman to see if maybe she doesn't want to do this, like to have a common sense sit down and decide from a place of clarity. They object to that so bad. When I say I mean
our society does not. Yeah, our society does not. How do we say? I don't say glorify, but our society doesn't advertise the alternatives, right?
Right.
We don't advertise the people that want to have babies that can't, or but
I mean, the other side of that is that it's, if you read the Kissinger report, which for anybody who's unfamiliar with Henry Kissinger, his report, how long has he been in the government? He's still alive, right? And still so there's a bee over here. I'm sorry if I get up and run, but
the camera will follow you.
Oh yeah, there you go. Never mind. So in the Kissinger report, I mean, he I don't know, what is his position? Do you know his position? Like governmental? No, I'm saying like what is his job on paper? Like, who is he to us?
Well, I know that Trump fired him. He was an advisor in the White House, and when Trump got in, he fired him, And I was like, ooh, that's a big move because
Because he's
Kissinger is
been there
pretty,
since year one, right? Like since the
yeah,
1700s or
yeah.
something.
I mean, he's pretty much Mr. NWO Kissinger, and he's one of them,
Right.
him. But the idea that some are saying is behind the scenes that they're the basically the what are the slave owners are fighting. So
Yeah,
Kissinger would
yeah,
be
yeah,
one
yeah,
side
yeah.
of it, and George Soros would be like another side of it.
Yeah, these are just
And
warring
then
families, and we're just pawns. And is the idea. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I've heard it said in many ways, different ways, and all of them make sense. It's just these are every war, everything. It's like
yeah, like they
these are
represent
these are bloodlines that are
two different
mhm,
dragon houses or
that
whatever.
both
You know what I'm
want
saying?
all the money and all the power, and they want it all, and that's how we know they're psychopaths. But no,
But
so I don't lose
yeah,
my thought
go
real
ahead.
quick. So the Kissinger report, it says I believe it's from the late 70s, maybe, that never got rewritten. They were just following this playbook this whole time. But I guess in some places it was outlawed to use abortion as population control, but that was his suggestion every time. So instead of using blatantly using it for population control, they were allowed to do things like promote it, not give money directly to for abortion services for population control, but fund places like Planned Parenthood and promote abortion, like unapologetically promote abortion. That's the legal. So when you read stuff like that, you you look at how it's being played, like, because these women on the left wouldn't be fighting for Kissinger's report. They wouldn't be fighting for population control. They've been triggered through traumatic experience or emotion to follow that report anyway, but it's not, the two things are not different. It's not separate. Margaret Sanger, like it's all been the same thing the whole time. So that's another thing that makes me so frustrated when I see these, my choice, my body, my choice, the whole thing. It's just sick. It's sick. It's like,
Well,
I don't know. Do they not know, or do they not care to know, or?
well, listen, it's a little bit of both. It's because do you not were you never on the left like that? Were you
I
never?
was, absolutely. I was raised
Do you not
liberal,
remember how
left.
smart you thought you were? Do you not remember
I
how smart
do,
you
I
thought you
do,
were?
but I didn't know. Now that I know better, I
Yeah.
didn't know. As soon as I found out, and I listened and I read,
Yeah, I can remember. I mean, I thought come on now, you can't tell me nothing. I know this, I know that. I got a high
right.
IQ. You can't tell me nothing. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about how shit worked. I didn't know anything about anything.
Right.
So to, these people, they think they know because they've been conditioned to think that they know.
They think, but that's the thing about belief systems that I feel is so tricky. Is like, what you think is your belief system is just something you were taught by somebody who was taught by somebody who was taught by somebody, and it just as easily could be somebody who was lied to somebody that was lied to by somebody who was lying to you, but they didn't know that they were lying to you, and you really believe that that's your core belief system, and it may just be somebody else's,
Well,
and
that's
that's why
kind of
it's so
why, with
affection.
education, yeah, that's why, it's kind of strange to me. Like when you look back on integration and how we wanted to integrate, why would we want the people that did that to us to educate our children? That was
Never.
probably a mistake, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we fought for it. And that's the same thing with the abortion thing. It's
Well,
like
that's
we
what they
fought
do.
for
They
it.
get us to fight for what they want.
Right. They get us to fight, make it think it's our idea. Like for voting rights and all that stuff, it's like, vote for who? Like you got us looking over here, like fighting to vote. And meanwhile, you haven't presented a candidate that's even worthy of my vote. But I'm over here fighting for it.
Right.
And to pull out another thread, just lightly though, is
Mhm.
is the word black, like for the right, black rights, black power, black this, black that. And black is just a color. Black is not a nationality. Black is not an ethnicity. Black is a color, and not one that's held in high regard.
Yeah,
Typically,
blackballed, yeah, blackballed,
blacklisted,
blacklisted,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
all types of
All
things.
anything black is usually bad. Anything white is usually good. I
And they
don't.
got us out here fighting to be black. Like, where are you gonna go? Like, have you? Oh, I have a clip for you. I don't have it right here,
Okay.
but there is yeah. I'll pull
Well,
it up.
comes to mind is Run DMC. I don't know why. You know, I'm proud to be black,
Black,
y'all. And
y'all,
that's a
and that's the
fact, y'all.
fact, y'all.
And if you try to take what's mine, I'll take it back, y'all.
What's
It's like
yours though?
that.
What's
Now,
yours?
well, the
Like, what
thing
are
is,
they gonna say?
I'm not proud to be black because I didn't really have anything to do with it,
Right.
right?
Well,
So, I mean, I'm not. I got nothing against blackness or anything like that. I love being black. I'm not, opposed to it or anything like that. But I mean, the way I look, the way I present, that has more to do with my parents and genetics and things like that than anything that I've done. So it's hard for me to put like a whole lot of like I feel proud. I'm proud to it's hard to rep my city. You know what I'm saying? It's not really my city. You know what I'm
yeah, I
saying?
see a
I'm
lot of
just
stuff that makes it hard to like, just like,
yeah,
come
I'm
on,
just not I'm just not
y'all.
that kind of person. I don't necessarily
Right.
rep a city or a town. I don't wear, I don't wear people's names on my on my clothes, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? I'm very much into individualism and doing you gotta do you. You know what I'm
You
saying? So
have to do you, and if you're lucky, you find like people that you gravitate towards, and you build a sort of family, and it's rarely biological, I would say. But I
what I
am,
mean is like I'm not necessarily proud. I'm proud
I,
of our show, right? We worked hard on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud
right.
of that.
You
I'm
put in
proud
work. You
of
had nothing to do with being black, but
right.
also,
I'm proud of
but
like
being black is not. It's not about what your parents made. It's a state of mind. It's circumstantial and situational, and there's a camaraderie in,
oh
unfortunately,
yeah,
in
oh
things
yeah.
that,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah, listen, I'm with all of that. But it's hard for me to be proud of something that I had nothing to do with.
right.
That's
So
what I mean.
yeah, I mean,
Right? So
yeah,
I love my culture, I love my people, I love black women, I love it all, right? And that's love, that deep, deep, deep love, right? I love it.
mhm,
My mom is a
mhm,
black woman, right? So,
right.
you know what I'm saying, right? But I if I don't have nothing to do with it, I don't know how to take pride in it. I just don't know how to take pride in it.
Well, also, I mean, proud to be black. I mean, we get mad at those who are proud to be white. It's the same
I don't
in
get
the,
mad at nobody. You know what? This
well,
is
okay.
maybe,
No, I'm saying
maybe, maybe
we as
in
in society, people who
me.
say I'm proud to be white get in a lot of trouble, so to speak, with the, whatever. But it's the same thing. You have no, like, that's not anything that you had anything to do with. And same with the black. But I would say the state of mind, and like you said, the culture and the struggle, is real. The
This is what I
struggle
think.
is
I
real.
think maybe at the end of my road, if I feel that, or if I see that I brought something impactful to black people, if I did something, then I would be proud to be black.
I don't even
If
know
I
if that's
do
the right. I
something,
feel like you would just be proud to be you, like you did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, unless the
yeah.
thing that you're doing is solely for
Well, no,
the
what I
color
mean,
black.
what I mean is if I do something that impacts and moves the culture forward.
Okay, yeah, yeah, then
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah,
not just, helping somebody or something, but if 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 because of me black folks stop listening to that psycho music, for example,
right.
right?
Murder music
You
is
know
what
what
I
I'm
call
saying,
it, but yeah.
right? If I bring attention to it and get people to stop listening to murder music all the time, then then maybe at that point I would
I'm
feel
proud. Yeah,
proud of something like that because
right.
I brought something to it, because I contributed. But if I haven't
Mhm.
contributed anything to it, it's just hard for me to be. I'm not just proud because I just woke up in the morning, like, I got to do something.
I
You got to
woke
work
up
for
like
it. You know what I'm
this.
saying? Like,
You know, no,
I,
you didn't, but
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I just think you got to work for it.
yeah,
You got to work for it.
yep. I hear that. I also think that the color thing is I mean, it's just, okay. I'm just gonna say the clip that I was gonna show you was a guy. I think he's a pastor, and he's speaking to a bunch of kids, and he says, and we can cut it in, but he says, when I say a place, when I say a group of people, you say where they're from, and so he's saying, did the answer back to the crowd. He's like, Chinese, and they said China. He said Russian, Russia. I don't know, another place, Nigerian, Nigeria. And he said black, and there was
That's
no,
right,
and
right.
but he was like, and that that's the thing right there. That's the thing, because where's African America? I've never been there before.
I think that I like how he put it, because it allowed me to sort of peer into both minds of both types of people, and I think that more people should do it. And I think that if one thing triggers one person and another triggers another person, then you got to mind your emotions and you got to go back and look at the facts and see what the facts say. You know?
Yeah,
And
that's a
abortion is
good thing. If you feel yourself getting triggered, like if you feel yourself about to blow up over something that really isn't connected to you, it's good to look at what that is, the origins of it, and the reason why it exists today, right here on the main stage. What's going on here? Why am I freaking out?
There you go. That's it right there.
Right.